All right. Hello, my name is Barrett, fellows. I am an assistant professor within the physician assistant program, and with me I have my colleague, Dr. Shannon Gadd, who is a pharmacist within our division as well. Dr. Gadd and I started a exam review committee a number of years ago with the goal of really being able to better align our internal examinations with that of our accreditation or our with our certification exam that the physician assistant students are able to take at the end of their curriculum. So the goal was to make sure that our form and style of our questions that we have on our multiple choice exams, which is 199% or so of the assessment that we have in the didactic year, matches that of our accreditation exam. So that means getting rid of things like true or false questions, which aren't seen on our accreditation exam, getting rid of none of the above, getting rid of all of A, B, and C, but not D type questions, and kind of matching the form of our internal exams to that of our credentialing exams. Another goal of our committee, which is Dr. Gadd and I, was to improve the reliability of those exams that we are offering. So one of the main reliability indexes that we use is something called a KR20, and that takes the exam as a whole and gives it a number designation between 0 being not very reliable, not very reproducible, all the way up to 1, which would be an extremely reproducible test. And so our methods here is after we went through our exam evaluation checklist for every single exam within the didactic curricula and met those different checklists criteria, we found the KR20 exam scores kind of on a this assessment review committee being back in 2023, took all of those KR20 results for those spring semester and then compared those to kind of 2024 once we had kind of started, and then 2025 when we really had formally started the assessment review process and kind of measured the delta between the pre and then the post KR20 results that we had for the exams.
Yeah, so that brings us to our results. So what we ended up seeing was before like the full integrated evaluations that we were having, where we evaluated each one based off of this checklist, we found that in 2023 and 2024, those are our pre-numbers, we didn't see much change to show that we were kind of in this steady state of KR20s. The p-value between these two numbers, so you can see down here, was 0.59 and 0.59. The p-value was 0.73 between those. And then once we implemented the examination review committee, again, just us, then we saw that the KR20 on average increased to 0.63, which a p-value of 0.19. So it wasn't statistically significant, but it was trending towards that. One thought that we had for how that may become more statistically significant over time and why we'll continue to perform these evaluations as well as track the data is because as we did these reviews, you can see a number of the things that we were looking for, including questions that were given back in previous years, difficulty index, we're 100% of people getting this right year after year type of thing. Because of those, it generated the question of, do we need new questions? And so because of that, after we implemented our review, we did find that exams changed a bit because of our recommendations, that we needed new questions. And because of that, these questions were untested and thus required more review in future years. And so we do, we're not off put, I guess, by the lack of statistical significance in that number. We do think that there's still, that we did see a clinically significant or an educationally significant trend towards improvement, and that could continue as we continue to review these each year and make sure that we're really aligned with best practices, and then wouldn't be surprised if this also helps aid us in earlier intervention for our students, more accurate intervention, more accurate understanding of where the knowledge gaps are, so that they are better prepared for these standardized exams, plus the framework will look much more familiar to them. Any questions?
One thing I didn't understand, I'm not sure maybe everyone did, KR20 measures the exam itself and its reliability. So if, say, you actually misunderstood and you're giving a legal exam while they're actually preparing for a pharmacy exam, your KR20 could be off the scale, but you're teaching them something, or you're assessing something that's different from the gold standard.
Absolutely. So that is a limitation, and the fact that in our recommendations and in our review, so we send out this email to to each course director before we review the exam, just to let them know what we will be looking for so that they have a chance prior to our review to address any of these issues. In that email, we also say, we are not going to be reviewing for content. As the course director, that is up to you and your instructors to ensure that the content is appropriate. It's just not feasible for us to be able to review and provide expert feedback on the content of all of these things, where we have guest lecturers who are very skilled in these areas to provide that. So we're more on best practices of examination protocol. Great question, thank you. Anything else?
So in clinical medicine, there is a lot of activity, as you know, in quality improvement. And in quality improvement project, a lot of them, to my understanding anyway, don't rely on statistics. They look for trends, they look for improvement. Is that the model you're going to follow? Because you haven't shown statistical significance. I honestly don't know if it's that important, as long as you have new findings and you are making changes and testing them. What other cutoffs or improvements are you looking for?
I can go ahead. Okay, thank you for that question. So not only is KR20 important, but we also met with our leadership team at the division, and we're thinking about things of how many questions are given back each year because they had terrible point by serial numbers. You know, maybe they had a negative point by serial, suggesting that the best exam takers actually got those questions wrong. Different things like what was the average score of the exam? How many failures were there? Things like that. So there are a variety of exam parameters that have been validated in other studies that suggest how to test reliability. For the sake of this presentation though, and because we're still in this early stage, we decided to just go with KR20 for this, but we are collecting data on all of those parameters and hope to publish something much bigger.
I think statistical evaluation to really compare how our exams match to that of our accreditation boards.
Oh.
I can't pinpoint a specific statistical finding that we would use to match the relevance or the apples to apples type questions. So I think subjectively we have definitely improved leaps and bounds in that category.
But one could argue if PANCE scores, PANCE is the standardized or the certification exam for PAs, if we see those scores improve, then maybe this is related because our exams more closely match as opposed to being K-type questions or true-false questions. But of course, there could be a variety of things contributing. Yes?
I'm just wondering if it's possible that your p-values not being statistically significant could just be related to your power size of only 30 students. I'm wondering if you have some
examinations.
Yeah,
this was the spring semesters for 2024, 2025, 26, and I started with the program 3 years ago. Shannon was right around, Dr. Gadd was right around there as well. And we had started making some of these changes here, knowing kind of that this is something that needed to be improved upon in this territory, but hadn't formally started our committee work until somewhere here-ish. So that might add into that as well.
But yeah, as we get more time, then we'll see that.
Effect size is just small.
Yeah.